I haven't updated. Yay, now it's updated. I'm just gonna watch this and see what C thinks about the game, I guess.
On, you sick freak. Did you click on this video expecting to see criticism of God's most perfect game, Final Fantasy XIV? How dare you even imply it has problems that could use fixing? 14 has the best gameplay, the best job design, the greatest community, by the way, that your eyes have ever seen. And because my sense of self is inextricably tied to this game, I consider any criticism about it a criticism of me. So I'm going to be very upset if you have something negative to say, mister. Or at least, that's how it used to be. Back in the day, you couldn't say anything about Final Fantasy XIV without the game dev riding army breathing down your neck. But these days, I see videos criticizing 14 everywhere I look. They're practically the only 14 videos coming out these days. And by making this one, I feel like I'm jumping on a bandwagon of sorts. Please, look at my credentials. I swear I'm not a trend Andy. I have a long and fleshed out history of lovingly shitting on this game. That is, until one day, I stopped. I quit making videos about 14. I didn't talk about it on stream anymore. If somebody asked me when I'd play it, I'd laugh nervously while chat spammed clueless. I developed a script of sorts. Whenever people would ask me why I stopped playing, I told them that I burnt out. I told them that turning it into my job made playing it feel like work and that I just needed some time apart. But after literal years have passed, I realized that I was wrong. It's not that I was burnt out on 14. It's not that making videos about it ruined my passion for it. Those videos were made because I had passion in the first place. It turns out I lied. I didn't stop because I made it my job. I stopped because 14 has done nothing worth being passionate for. So, let's talk about that. And our conversation is gonna take a hot second, which means that at some point, I'm bound to have an opinion you disagree with. Feel free to run to the comments and write essays about how wrong I am because my autism enables me to enjoy reading unhinged manifestos about Final Fantasy XIV. Just keep in mind that despite popular opinion, I don't want the game to die. I want to see it rise out of this slump and go back to being the f***ing joy to play that it...
So, I can totally understand where she's coming from, purely from as a raider, right? In Shadowbringers, in this Shadowbringers, we had 3-minute cooldowns, we had 2-minute cooldowns, we had 90-second cooldowns, we had 60-second cooldowns, we had 30-second cooldowns. People had buttons to press. If you weren't quote-unquote perfect with your entire rotation, you were not dealing damage, basically. Skill ceiling on certain jobs were high. Monk was hard to play. You had every button was a positional, and eventually you knew all of them, but they were all positionals. You didn't per se need to do all of them to do a lot of damage, but you had to put your stuff on cooldown. Dragoon had a 2-minute, a 1-minute, and a 60 seconds. No, a 3-minute with Battle Litany, a 2-minute with Dragon Sign, which was just fun to put on people because then you were tethered. You were just like walking your DPS, right? And then you had Lance Charge. Yeah, Lance Charge. And you would just keep rotating that. And if you played your job perfectly, you did a metric fuck ton of damage. You don't have that anymore. Everything is dumbed down. Everything is back to like a quote-unquote 2-minute. And every type of skill expression is being sucked out of the game. Which is really sad. They even dumbed down Black Mage again. I will probably get, like, she probably will talk about that.
It once was. Other than that, there will be very minor and vague spoilers for the story, so if you're a huge stickler for that, you might want to head out. Or don't. I like when people cry about spoilers they were already warned about. It gets me all hot and bothered. Oh yeah? You didn't know that they fight dragons in Heavensward? Keep going, I'm almost there. Anyway, no more preamble, roll the damn clip. If I'm gonna talk about the problems with this game, I have to start with the game direction. 14 is not a difficult game and never really has been, which means I'm saying a lot when I tell you that the game has been gradually dumbing down, simplifying, and streamlining gameplay so that the player virtually never experiences failure. Let me put this in Joseph Anderson terms. terms.
Yes.
If Elden Ring had a problem with making things too difficult to keep their reputation of try-hard gameplay alive, then 14 has the opposite problem. 14 wants to make things piss easy so that even a paraplegic chicken with Alzheimer's can keep up. Trust me, I've broken into Square Enix headquarters and I've seen the chicken. It's crazy shit. This stretches into every...
She will probably, like, she will continue on this, but it's... I've seen people in highest end dungeons, on level 100 dungeons, spamming Cure 1 on a healer, like, and Physic, they're the Q1 like counterpart, right? And then they get mad if you ask like, hey, where's Holy? Or hey, why are you only spamming Cure 1? It's 500 potency. It's not gonna keep people alive. It's like, you can play me tell me how to play the game. It's like, yeah, me. Yes, I cannot tell you how to play the game, but also, please understand that you're detrimental to everybody else's time. We're never at 4 people. You gotta respect their time as well. And if you never do damage and your tank is always dying, or if you have a good tank, they can keep themselves alive. What are you doing there? Like, you have all these DPS skills, use them. And I'm not saying that you should play perfect. Absolutely not. But press a button, like, besides just a healing button as a healer. And if you're a DPS and you have like 3 enemies, please use your AoE, because I also see people use their single target on a pack of 17 enemies. I'm like, why? What are you doing? But they never get punished for it. There's never a part in the game that punishes you for being bad. And bad in a way that you never read your tooltips and you're never pressing your 2 minutes ever, like your rate buffs, or you're never, like, you're only pressing your 1, 2, 3, or 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 in some cases, because people are absolute garbage at the game sometimes. And I mean, that's a game's fault. That's not a... It's also a person's fault, kinda, because they don't want to learn the game. And even if you're in the end game, you already synced in like hundreds of hours. So you never ever realize that you have more buttons to press. Like, if you press your buttons completely wrong, but you're still trying to press your buttons, you're at least contributing to a team. And that's in trials, that's in normal raids, that's in... well, not in Savages, but in some of those people join like EX trials that are on patch, and then they do absolutely jack shit on like Pictomancer, for example, and then we almost wipe to end raids, and everyone's like, what happened? But those people get carried. There's also some people in Savages that do 0 damage as a healer, and then they get carried by people that are good at the game.
Part of the base game, including dungeons, raids, hell, even old content isn't.
And with how Square Enix is like handling that, you cannot give actual criticism in this game. That is against TOS, basically. You can ask, like, hey, are you open for criticism? And they say, no, that's it. You youngest, you got that choice. You just saw that. Fuck you, I know that. Okay. But, like, there's nothing in this game that tells you if you're doing a good job, besides wiping to end rage. And I've seen a lot of people doing bad stuff, and I've given a lot of people pointers and advice and stuff in Mentor Lad, in normal EXs, in Savages, and whatever. There are people that are very open to it, and they don't mind. But there's also people that are absolutely stubborn, don't know what to do. I mean, if you're like in Mentor Lad and you're get Ifrit EX, and they're just queuing up for it, I will not expect that you immediately know how the fight works. But if people said to you like 70 times, if you have Searing Wind, do not stand in the middle of the stage, they still do it. And then they wipe again and again and again and again, and you're keeping people locked up for 1.5 hours or an hour. I don't know what the old EXs are, but it's like, there's no punishment for that.
They've been sent to Yoshi P's veterinarian practice to be declawed, defanged, and of course, utterly fucking neutered. Let me give you an example. One fateful day while playing 14, I got queued into Titan Normal. A very nostalgic primal, great music, overused chicken nugget memes, but I can forgive him for the sins of Larry Zor. Now imagine my surprise when the new player fell off the edge, and 3 seconds later, I was able to res them. Right! I forgot having unique mechanics in fights might be too difficult for new players. So glad that's gone. And then I got the Airy as my dungeon. And in the fight against Nidhogg, I realized there's no Moristinian there. I guess the devs thought casting Cure once or twice on him was too hard for the healers to handle. Never mind how that mix with the lore or emotional impact, just get rid of any failure point. It's too risky. What's really ironic and funny about this is that they've tried to backtrack recently. Don't get too excited though, it's the bare minimum. They made the new level 90 to 100 dungeons a bit harder than they were before. Stress on a bit, not hard enough that you can't figure it out in the first run and then never have to think about it again, but still, that's progress, right? Well, in my opinion, never have to think about it again, but still,
what did
that's
progress. But if it's an argument over dungeon difficulty, it was not. I got hit, like, I don't think I streamed the last part of the Dawntrail expansion. But, like, I wiped a few times with, like, people, all new people, right? We wiped a few times because you cannot, you can't foresee everything, right? But the stuff wasn't hard. It hit like a truck because everybody was under geared. But it wasn't hard. Like, if you just look at boss lol.
Progress, right? Well, in my opinion, it's too little and way too late. Now, the case for why is hard to crack, but after decades of research, I think I know the answer. After snorting my 10% off with code LucyGamerSubs powder, I astral projected myself straight to Japan to play 5D chess against Yoshi P himself. My 1 million IQ mind translating his Japanese to perfect ink filled with the information, the secret agenda of it was for money.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. If game easy, more people play game. If more gamers play, then more is money. Shareholder happy. Yay. It feels like these game devs are truly terrified of losing your sub. And that means they're scared of anything that might drive off a new player. Anything that might take away that hit of dopamine that keeps you playing in the first place. They never want you to experience a negative emotion while playing their game. So what do? They take out challenge. They ask less of you. They give everyone the tools to survive so that if the healer is a literal toddler banging on the keyboard, you can still finish the duty without kicking them out. Why do you think Tenchi Jin was changed? Why is Black Mage getting more and more instant casts? Why did they decide pressing Kaiten before Midare was too difficult? Why else would they refuse to nerf Picto despite how unhealthy its numbers turned out to be for the engine? If a job requires skill, it might drive the shitters away. Square Enix can't have that,
like last week. And this is from 12 days ago, so she didn't do. It was before the live letter.
Players is flawed, and to my shock, Yoshi P agrees with me. There's this nice little quote from him recently where he talked about how if a side-scrolling game doesn't have holes to fall into, then there's no fun in playing it. I tell you, viewer, I cried tears of joy. Finally, Yoshi understands. He's gotta do it, guys. He's gotta fix the game. And when I played the new dungeons, I felt that he was starting to fix that part of the game. The new normal trials were challenging in a fun way. I'll give them credit where it's due. They have tried to increase the difficulty for this expansion, even if it's slight. And it's a great change, and I appreciated it, but with the state that job design is in, I'm not really sure it matters. You'll hear other people say the jobs have become more and more homogenized over time, and I'm not going to disagree with them. It's bad for tanks, it's real bad for healers, and to hear you DPS mains tell it, it's not going too good on your side of town either. And maybe this is a controversial take, but here's the way that I see it. If I can level each healer, one after the other, and I barely have to change my approach to gameplay, I think there's a problem. Even if the encounters are marginally more difficult, the devs forgot that the core gameplay of a job is what creates someone who mains it and keeps playing the damn game. And the thing is, they used to understand that. Scholar was a busy mess in Stormblood, but it was my favorite iteration of the job to date. Astrologian was an RNG-dependent job, but making the best out of a bad card pull was part of the class fantasy. Heavensward Dark Knight's Dark Arts required some thought, but god if it wasn't fun for the people who enjoyed actually managing their mana. Bit by bit, they've been stripping out the things that make jobs different, and Summoner in particular got a complete rework. Nowadays, if you like Dot, you can play Bard, I guess? Yes, I am well aware that this is God's most...
But they play with elements over time, right? Play Bard. But even then, all their procs are not on their dot based anymore. The only reason you keep them up is because after the first iteration, they're gonna do massive damage. Everything before that, no. And you can snapshot your dots in raid buffs. That's it. Like,
based on popular opinion.
Like what?
But
What do you mean,
seriously,
dots?
why did they do Old Summoner dirty like that? I'm saying this as someone who never mained the job, because I don't have to. I'd be pissed if it happened to my main, and with Healer, it kinda did happen to my main, so I'm sorry. But I do think it was a middle finger to that player base, and the bare minimum they could have done was make a dot job that would replace it. But they didn't. Past Summoner mains got screwed, and there's no sign that they'll ever be unscrewed. They are permanently being by the massive dick of the job designers. And yeah, I know the player numbers were low. I know many people were dissatisfied that it didn't live up to the summoning lore. I know the dot playstyle was an acquired taste. But was the solution to that to completely nuke a playstyle out of the game and leave those fans with no replacement? It's
same with White Mage, by the way. Like, back in the day, you had Arrow, and Arrow became Arrow 2, and then you got Arrow 3, and Arrow 3 was a cast, Arrow 2 was an instant cast, so you had 2 dots. For one, you had to stand still, and for the other one, you could just use, and they were both on different timers. Like, some people might remember that Arrow was in 18 seconds, and I think the other one was either 12 or 21 seconds. One of both, but you had something to do, you had something to look at. Now you have nothing. You have like 30-second dot, and sometimes it's not even worth to redot anymore because the boss just goes away too early. And all you do is just spam glare and lilies until you get a blood lily, and then you just use your blood lily to move. Yay. Job. Nice. Also, I don't have to heal if it's not like Savage or Ultimate. Like, even in Savage, you don't really have to TCD heal at all. You just use all your lilies in the size, and that's enough.
sad because, you know, they could
I'm gonna actually there's Monster Hunter in the background.
have done things differently. For example, maybe a little less funding into the scam known as Blue Mage and a little more into creating another Arcanist spinoff? No? We're gonna keep making limited jobs? Okay, I guess I'll go kill myself. But time and time again, the devs have shown that they will choose the path of least resistance. And what they replaced Summoner with was by far the easiest job to play in the entire game. Sure, having a couple jobs that are brain dead isn't a bad idea, but you went and replaced one of the sweatiest dot time optimizing spreadsheet maxing player populations with that? But even this is nothing in the face of the greatest consequence to making everything easier to play. And if you're a healer main, you already guessed it, the total death of the Trinity system. And no, I'm not talking about the religious one. Let's think about the general premise of the Trinity. You have tanks, healers, and DPS. DPS and healers can't take damage for shit, so they need tanks in order to not get DP double-fisted by any roided chocobo that looks in their general direction. Tanks need healers because even though they're the swinging schlong alpha podcast chat of the team, they're only human. They can take more hits, but that doesn't make them immortal. Of course, DPS need healers because 90% of them suck at the game and they need someone to wipe their ass for them, as is the law of any MMO. And finally, tanks and healers need DPS because they don't want to spend 2 hours throwing cotton balls at the enemy until it finally keels over. And up until Shadowbringers, the Trinity was alive and well, gently suckling on one another's teats in the most beautiful little throuple you've ever seen. That all changed when the Blood Wedding Nation attacked. Do I jest? Only a little bit. Warrior is far from the only problem with the Trinity system right now, but it was the first big blow, and the trend has only worsened with time. When I was still playing healer, anytime I got a warrior in my team, I would begin the 5-stage process of grief, because I knew I was about to have the most mind-numbingly boring dungeon experience of my goddamn life. There is no skill involved with carrying as a warrior. It is incredibly easy to press Blood Wedding on cooldown, and if you press it on cooldown, you win, whether you have a healer or you don't. In fact, if you want to be a real jackass, there's a fun little prank you can play on the party. If the healer ever dies, you can make sure you don't use any of your tools to keep the DPS alive, and then proceed to solo the boss, flexing your EP in front of their corpses, forcing them to wait half an hour for you to finish one enemy. Very fun. I love when that happens. And if the warrior is sentient enough to use their healing tools on the DPS, then it's straight up optimal to ignore the Trinity and run a dungeon with a warrior and 3 DPS instead. After all, DPS is king in this game, and for whatever reason, Daddy P has decided that healers should have the least of it. Nowadays, warrior isn't the only problem child. This plague of adding cracked healing tools to non-healer kits has only festered. Paladin also has incredible self-sustain, Gunbreaker has respectable self-sustain, Dark Knight is Okay, well, there's an exception to every rule, but the point is, the plague has turned into a pandemic, reaching even the DPS. Reaper has a heal over time, Dancer has an AoE heal, Summoner has an AoE heal, Pictomancer has a fucking shield. Am I missing anyone? Healers themselves keep getting new healing tools when they already have more healing than they'll ever need, as long as they play in a party that has a pulse. People with an inflation kink must love this trend, because with the amount of bloat you have in healers' kits, I doubt they're ever able to play this game fully soft. Yeah, but Lucy, that's just in dungeons and normal mode content.
No,
that
also in Ultimate, they also killed Fro with no healers and no tanks, by the way.
Follow Yoshi P's advice, and if you want to have fun as a healer, go play Ultimate. First of all, I hate this reasoning, because what you're really saying to me is this. Healers shouldn't be allowed to enjoy the game unless they're going sweaty tryhard mode. But hey, don't worry, I got you covered on that front. Because Ultimate has already been cleared without healers. Those are like the top
by the way.
0.00001% of players. Not everyone could do that. Yeah, and I also don't know how to hack into Square Enix's mainframe and find the forbidden ERP logs between GMs. Is that a skill issue on my part, or do you think it's by design? Fact of the matter is, if the devs didn't want you clearing without healers, they wouldn't make it possible no matter what you did. They've gone back and fixed things where tanks weren't necessary. In the case of healers, no matter what you did, they've gone back.
Once upon a time, people found a way to clear Ramo EX without having to participate in the tank mechanic by having Titan Edgy tank the boss instead. Oh, that was a thing back in the day. The one strategy for working was deployed the 15th June 20. The exploit lasted 1 week before
Back
guild
and fix
address.
things where tanks weren't necessary. In the case of healers, they just don't care, and neither does the majority of the player base.
Honestly, just kill the rule, give everybody shake it off, bloodbath, shorten to 60 seconds, second win, shorten, yeah.
I suspect it's because they don't want their overpowered healing toys yanked away, or because they don't play healer and thus don't give a shit. But hey,
both.
It keeps happening and will continue to happen. The most recent Savage tier was cleared without healers, I think on week 2. Very ordinary stuff, perfectly healthy for the game. Wait, oh shit. I have an incoming voice message from Yoshi P. Do any of you guys understand Japanese? Perhaps unsurprisingly, healers don't like Yoshi's cuck chair. In fact, healer disappointment has reached such an insane level that there's a thread on the official forums with over 1,000 pages. Healers are pissed, and the devs have been turning a blind eye to it since 5.0. 5 years. 5
Has it been 5 years?
Healers have been left in this state with no promise of balance or even changes to their DPS kit to at least give them something, anything to do while the warrior main solos by breathing. And if I sound gamer rage mad, it's because I am. I loved healing in this game, goddamn. But I was obsessed with it, talked about it all the time. Hell, I started my fucking career over it. So yeah, pardon me if I'm a little pissed, but I'm not going to apologize for having passion about a game I put years of my life into. The devs have 2 choices if they actually care about fixing this. They can either bring the roles back into balance with one another and restore the Trinity, or they can admit they hate dealing with healers and just axe them entirely from the game. I'd take either one at this point. At least that would be proof that the devs have a direction in mind and that they're pursuing it with confidence. But for now, we're left with wishy-washy healer kits that only ever get fun when the party is really bad at playing the game. And considering how easy the content is...
So, like, what is it? The alliance rate? The current alliance rate, right? At the start, when nobody knew what the hell they were doing, that was fun. That was a lot of fun to do. Why? People died left and right. Me and my co-heal from the static, we tried to keep people alive, right? We tried to make sure we didn't wipe. We had to sacrifice people. Like, we had to step out of stack markers. We did everything within our power to get the other alliances back up. And we had our tank, God bless his soul, he was good at the game. Also, like, solo that boss without any healing for a long time because we were also just out of mana, right? That was fun. That was the most fun I've had in this game for a long time, since 6.2 through 3 or something. And we're now in 7. And that was in 7-1. That was more than 1.5 years of me not, well, like enjoying the game because I played the game a lot. But that was the most fun I had in the game. Like Aglaya and co, those fights were not hard. That was dumbed down fights. And then they finally get an interesting fight that is only interesting week 1 or week 2. And then people just know the fight and then people don't die anymore. Well, people still die, but then you have like the 1 or 2 people that are new that die. And then the rest of the party is like, oh, whatever. And so you don't have to think about what you do in the game anymore. Yeah, it's only fun when people are bad. But you only want to be bad with good people, because even good people can be bad at a fight the very first time. And then you still clear like relatively fast. Because once you recover, people don't die anymore. And if you only have bad people, once you get to the recovery point, all of them die again. And you have to start over.
I don't see this metaphorical genie being put back into the bottle. I don't think these devs are strong enough. Now that they've given tanks and DPS these strong heals, they're not gonna take them back. Most warriors defend their overpowered job tooth and nail, and I mean, who can blame them? I don't understand how playing something practically unkillable is fun for them, but whatever. Some people like being the Mary Sue of an MMO. I can't criticize them because I sort of joined them. I switched to Gunbreaker in 6.0 and didn't look back. The tank role as a whole is broken and receives constant glazing in the form of buffs, overpowered kits, and special mounts they get just for doing duties while existing as a tank. I figured, why continue being a second-class citizen when I could just main a job that the devs actually like? And I think this switching of roles is what gave me the patience to keep playing for the majority of 6.0 to 6.5. But it wasn't enough. And unfortunately for the players, and very fortunately for me milking the hell out of this video's time duration, the Trinity system isn't the only thing showing a lack of effort from the devs. Perhaps one of the biggest so-called black pills in 14 is the slow removal of content over time. See, the whole idea behind having longer patch cycles and waiting longer for new content was that it would result in a better gaming experience. After all, what else are they doing with all that extra time? The answer may surprise you. Drum roll, please. They've added a grand total of exactly less content than you had in the 3-month patch cycle.
Sure, it won't be a problem if the patches had more content, the less, the thought of logging in to replay any of the same,
You know, when I've had a long day of hard work, and I just need some time to unwind with my favorite MMO of all time, I love to go sit in my comfy chair, log in, and do nothing. God, I love doing nothing. How do the devs expect us to do all this nothing they're making for us? Sarcasm aside, I do see people questioning the devs' thought process all the time. Like, what do they see as the motivation to keep casual players logging in when there's nothing new to do for months at a time? Don't fret, because I'm 90% sure I have the answer. They are hinging their bets on the role-playing community. I genuinely think their idea is that enough people are going to reach enlightenment just by dressing up their catgirl and AFKing in Limbs of Square with a dance emote. A paid dance emote, by the way. Because let's not forget that putting emotes in the cash shop is way more profitable than turning it into an event reward. God forbid we made actual content for the game. Just make product and sell it as quickly as possible, or the shareholder might lose his erection. Yeah, man, the game devs do a little uptime maximizing of their own, and their motto is ABC. Always be cock-sucking. So the sad part is, they keep doing it because it works. There is a significant part of the player base that couldn't give a shit about the actual game. They just use it as their ERP hub and keep their sub active so they can find out what happens at the end of the Rogan game thing they started last Wednesday. Sprinkle a little cash shop slut glam on top, and you have Yoshi P's dream player right there. And let it be known that I'm not sitting on roleplay. I've done a little cringe activity back in my Tumblr heyday, but I'll be damned if I let Yoshi P prioritize the role-playing scene.
I mean, I know why he is saying Yoshi P. It's probably not him. He like, yes, he's the director, right? But he also has to listen to people.
Over actual content. The fact that a lot of people defend the cash shop is another debate entirely. Misshapen Chair made a great video on that, so check that out in the pinned comment if you want to hear my controversial take. I'm not getting into it here, but even if you ignore the paid emotes, paid outfits, paid dyes, paid mounts, you get the idea. Then you'll have to wrestle with the fact that the game objectively has less content than ever before. Let me give a brief overview. First, we went from getting 2 new expert dungeons in a patch to only 1. Whatever. Small potatoes, right? Just walk it off. And then, we lost our job quests and got role quests instead. A decently sized blow. Many people enjoyed them, and we would no longer be getting updates to the quests that embellished the job and class fantasy we were so drawn to in the first place. Were the role quests at least?
I actually... So, in Shadowbringers, you always have to do, like, a job quest, right? So, either healer, melee, Fiskins, magical DPS, or tank quest, like, completely. What I did in Shadowbringers was go through all of Shadowbringers, right? And I refused to do the job quest until I had to, and I skipped everything. I was so mad. And the quest lines weren't even interesting. I did them in Dawn Trail again, and in, what's the other one? And do we have Shadowbringers? Yeah, and Endwalker and Dawn Trail, I did them all, and I watched all the story. Some of them are interesting, some of them are not. It's like, no, I know why they did it, I guess, but I just want to do my Dark Knight quest again, right? Or my Astrologian quests.
Better written or longer? Not really, but I mean, there's so many jobs in the game. I guess it was too much to keep up with. And at least we still have our relic grind, right? Isn't that something we can spend a lot of time having fun with in game?
No
Sorry, man. About those relics. Yeah, those are just tomestones now. Yeah, you can just buy it by running the same 2 dungeons in Expert Roulette over and over again. Sorry. Is that disappointing? Don't worry, guys. We're working on new content. There's just so much other content we're developing.
The new relic
Can't you
weapons
see? Look at how much content you have now. What are the new things we have? Well, we have Island Sanctuary, which turned out to be less like a farming simulator and more like a click and wait simulator. We also have Criterion Dungeons, which
were fun.
Gave out less than stellar rewards. We also have new Extreme Trials. I mean, not really. They're just old Extreme Trials rebalanced for the current level caps, so we're just recycling old shit and putting mediocre rewards on it. But yeah, that's for the current level caps, so we're just recycling old shit and putting mediocre.
Go to give places that didn't get chance to do minimum item level, the bad, the extra painful, how much vouch leaves you need per week. Yeah, I mean, that's whatever.
Rewards on it. But yeah, that's technically new. We're also getting seasonal events.
Back in the day, by the way.
Less and less, with each one taking less time than the one before it and offering increasingly worse rewards. And other than that, we have, hold on, let me just sift through my files here. We have, here it is. We finally put Hilda's hairstyle in the cash shop. What's that? Have we fixed the housing situation? Well, no, that's not. Yeah, you do have to stay sub to keep your house, of course you do. Are you looking forward to getting new outfits in the dungeons and crafted gear? Don't go too crazy with your expectations there. The vast majority are just recolors and dyeable versions of old stuff. Do Viera and Hrothgar at least have hats yet? Oh no. Yeah, it has been years by now. Hey man, the devs need 4 months between patch cycles. What are you, a slave driver? The trend is clear. You, as the player, are getting less and less content while putting in the same exact money you did when they were giving you more. And there are people out there who will tell you that wanting more is bad. That wanting more is asking for the game devs to be overworked and abused. Who are these mysterious individuals, the White Knights, who come to defend the billion-dollar company's honor? The legendary, the fabled, the ever-present great community, by the way. That's right. If all of that wasn't enough, Final Fantasy XIV is backed up by a community that defends it from criticism as if 14 is the project of a few poor, underfunded indie devs instead of Square Enix. The great community, by the way, gamer, follows a simple line of protocol. The DDD. Deny, dismiss, and downplay. That's a fun game you can do. See if you can spot the different types as we go along. The most infamous part of these specimens is their constant criticism of, quote, elitism within the game.
Yeah.
Of course, to them, elitism is when you're semi-competent at playing. Asking for harder normal content so you don't fall asleep in dailies. Elitism. Asking for job complexity. Elitism. Asking for healers to have more DPS options. Believe it or not, elitism. In their eyes, anything that doesn't cater to the lowest common denominator is for elitist scum. And you better believe that if you want to kick that healer from your party who's doing nothing but casting cure when you're already at full HP, you're just elitist, bro. You're not dead, so they're totes doing their job. How dare you ask for more from the player base? Stop being such an elitist, my guy. Not everyone wants to try hard by having a basic understanding of the game like you. They've done this since the dawn of the game, always hiding behind some corner, waiting for someone to make the grave error of asking for more difficulty or complexity. Then they jump out of the bushes to tell you that they know someone who's disabled, or someone who doesn't have a lot of time to play the games, or someone who only plays for the story. As if there aren't already solutions to every one of these problems. You suck at the game and don't want to burden anyone? Use trust. You're busy and you want to see just the story? Watch a playthrough of only the story parts. Dozens of those exist on this very platform. You're disabled but want to play with your friends? Why not try out Summoner, a very mobile job that can be played with one hotbar and controller. It's not that people don't want these accessibility options to exist. It's that they don't want that to become the entire game. Future Lucy adding to this point. I really hate the accessibility argument that people make to defend the devs, because while I was putting together this video, I literally found a thread with about 80 pages worth of people talking about how the new graphics hurt their eyes and makes the game unplayable. These people have gone completely ignored, with not even a mention from the devs. And considering how easy it would be to add some settings to get rid of the bloom and maybe lower the brightness, I really don't know how you could actually believe they care about accessibility. Okay, back to the video, just felt that deserved mentioning. But in the eyes of the great community, by the way, this is toxicity. And asking for normal mode content to be anything more than a brain-dead slug is a sin. But they defend much more than the gameplay. They're also ride or die for the story, no matter how low it's fallen. Let's take Dawn Trail, for example. Twitter in particular was the Wook Lamont Defense Squad. Any criticism of her writing would get you called a plethora of insults. Illiterate, brain-rotted by TikTok, and edgelord. I'm pretty sure they just started pulling shit out of a hat at some point. There were even people straight up calling the story brilliant and some of the best writing in the game. You don't like it. You don't have an attention span. You're just a selfish brat who can't stand when the spotlight isn't on you. You're just a bigot. You hate women. You're a negative Nancy who hates happiness. And if you're right and the story is mid and the quality is down, don't worry. They're just world building right now. It's impossible to make a good story in a new world, right? Let's ignore the fact that they literally did that with Shadowbringers. Let's make excuses for the writing team. Guys, have some sympathy. It's really hard to sell books too, because all of them are required to world build for 400 pages before they make things interesting. That's why there's no such thing as a booming bookstore industry selling novels that only have one volume. This community made me feel genuinely gaslit about my experience with Dawn Trail. It wasn't just one or two people jumping to the game's defense, it was thousands. But if I had to summarize my thoughts on the story after giving it time, letting it sink in, and coming back to it with a clear head, it still felt like an insult to the player's intelligence, as if it was asking you to forget every lesson you learned in each expansion up until that point and throw it all away, because this time, the happy and wholesome character will get exactly what they want, with no real, long-lasting consequences thrown their way. It was so antithetical to the worlds of Heavensward and Stormblood and Shadowbringers, to the point that I could not reconcile them. It legitimately killed my interest in the story. I'll pause my thoughts on Dawn Trail there, because this is more so about the toxic positivity the community throws at it, and other creators have already done a great job breaking it down, particularly Zepla's video, which I highly encourage you to check out if the topic interests you. Her thoughts almost perfectly echo mine, so just imagine Zepla saying it in a much whinier, annoying, and high-pitched voice, and then it's almost like you're still listening to a Lucy Pyre video. Does it end here? Do they at least know when to call it quits?
No.
Sure. They blow smoke up the gameplay and the story's ass, but surely they wouldn't defend something serious like, I don't know, a huge gaping security flaw? And strap in, because 14 players still stand in the way of the game's progress, even when it makes zero sense to do so. And I can prove it. They had one of their absolute greatest hits about 7 months ago, back when the devs rolled out their new blacklist system. For those of you who don't know, there's been some recent drama regarding data exploits, and without going into the nitty-gritty, here's what that means. Stalking you on your alts just became easy as hell for bad actors. Some absolute prophet known as Fori Memory Sonar, hallowed be thy name, tried to warn the community at large about this, but they hated the Messiah because he told the truth. Oh no! Anyways, it's still miles and leagues better than the previous system where you couldn't get away from people even if you wanted to. They're blacklisted anyway, so what's it matter? It's no different from them having your loads down. People have been tracking other players for years. I'm sure my stalkers love watching me AFK and old Daw for 96 hours. Well, hardly ideal. The people who would benefit from this the most are getting blacklisted anyway. If you're getting into situations where you're worried about people spreading slander about your alt accounts, even after you blacklisted them, you need to really touch grass and reevaluate your relationship with online games. This thread, for as important as the information within it turned out,
can now be tracked about the production blocked character. However, this feature came with one issue. Every character now has a unique account ID attached to it. This ID is unique per service account. It stays the same on all your outs and all service account. Ultimately, the blacklist system works client side instead of the server simply not sending your character model or messages or marking them as blacklisted. Server side, it will now send everything. Just your client filter is based on your current blacklist, which now consists of account IDs rather than character IDs as they were before. How do you get an account ID? Well, you can't get it without modification to the game, but technically it is very easy to get it using various third-party tools. You need to any fancy and an old good 3-letter tool beloved by the raiders. Account ID is just fine as performs a little code. Oh, you mean ACT? And the worst thing is about it, you don't even need to see the character or receive messages from a character to their account ID. One just need to open a player source and the game client receives account IDs of everybody who's displayed in the search result. Basically, one can't retrieve account ID of an offline player. But that's really it when it comes to limitations. From there, one could make it to that would log account IDs and match them to the character names with this database. It's obviously possible to figure out all the account characters. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's bad.
Only got 10 upvotes. Artwork of someone's borderline naked cat girl gets 100 times more. And the comments within the actual thread, all different ways of saying, no one gives a fuck, or it's not a problem anyway, or yeah, it's a problem, but you're just being paranoid if you think people will actually stalk you. Comments filled with misinformation and people who have no clue what they're talking about. All things they said with confidence and upvotes before an actual stalking plugin was created and distributed publicly to players, forcing everyone to pay attention to the very real issue Square Enix had created. If you've never been in a situation where you had to worry about your privacy in the online game that you use to unwind and relax, then congratulations. I envy you, but I am asking you to exercise a shred, a modicum of empathy when I tell you that there are awful, terrible people out there who stalk and harass and threaten over the most irrelevant shit you can think of. Undercutting on the market board, leaving a free company, having a bad day in Party Finder, rejecting someone who asked them to be their RuneScape girlfriend. All of these things have been reasons for stalking in-game. So I just want you to put yourself in their shoes for a moment. What if every time you wanted to have fun with your favorite game, someone came up to you and started giving you shit? What if no matter how many times you blocked them, they'd always have a new alt to troll you with? What if they somehow knew where you were in-game all the time? Wouldn't you just want some fucking privacy? Wouldn't you appreciate having a little bit of your anonymity back? If you can't understand why it's a problem, I can only assume one of two things. One, you're naive as hell, and you think evil people don't exist. Or two, you're a complete asshole who doesn't care about others, and you're arrogant enough to think it could never happen to you. Well, for your sake, I hope you're right, because Square Enix has responded to the situation, and their response was, and I practically quote, "Onegai desu!" True Lucy back again to let you know they have addressed this issue again in the latest live letter, but it's still unclear if they have an actual plan to fix it, or if they're just reminding us that they know about it. At the very least, they don't seem to be in a rush to patch this out, so the point still stands. No fix for the exploit, no rushing to solve their security flaws, nothing that would actually solve the problem permanently. Because even though the plugin is no longer being distributed, they can't delete it from the people who already downloaded it. They can't stop people from making new copies. And hell, even if they magically could, the security is so bad that all you need is fucking Wireshark to figure out what you need to know. So no, their response is not enough. It's a joke. And it shows zero consideration for the people playing their game. I hate that this community dismisses real concerns until they're impossible to ignore. I hate that the person who whistleblowed this on Reddit was treated like a paranoid idiot. I hate that people defended the devs when they were objectively, factually undeserving of that defense. I hate how they are always standing in the way of this game's progress, as if 14 is this fragile being made of glass that will shatter if any criticism brushes its surface. But you know what? If 14 can't withstand criticism of a literal security flaw, then I don't think it deserves our money in the first place. We as a community need to be better. We deserve better. And we should be asking for better. Stop cutting yourself, grow some balls, and quit paying them the sub money that they're just gonna use to bend over and fuck your cat girl wife with. Demand security, because it's the bare minimum you deserve. This game is never, and I do mean never, going to improve as long as the player base is happy to consume whatever slop the devs dish out. Thankfully, the sheer number of people talking about the decline of this game and the dwindling sub numbers gives me hope that the tides are finally shifting, that players are starting to wake up to the problem that's been staring them in the face for so long, and that problem is this. Many of us sense no love or passion from the game devs. And sure, maybe we're looking in the wrong places. Maybe there are nuggets of careful thought and planning somewhere in the overarching scheme of things. But do we see it in the outdated character creation? Do we see it in the writing? Do we see it in the job design? The answer may shock you, but no. They're giving us the same old content cycle we've had since A Realm Reborn. New expert dungeon, new extreme trial, new 24-man raid, new 8-man raid, go try hard savage, go try hard the shiny new ultimate, with very little mid-core content to feed those in between, or even casual content in Dawntrail's case. The gear farm is the same as ever, and as stingy as ever, not allowing you to try new jobs in endgame without investing your limited resources into it. Fuck with the way tomes are done in this game, I feel like Final Fantasy XIV is a gacha game and I just hit my Battle Pass weekly XP limit. Why the hell am I paying a monthly subscription for a free-to-play experience? If the devs want us to be able to play every job on one character, then why can't they put their money where their mouth is and fix the gear problem? The game devs are playing a type of gay chicken with all of us. Yeah, I said it. Just instead of making homoerotic eye contact, they're trying to see how little they can give before you finally break away. And can you blame them? Why would you try new things if people are paying for the old? Why work harder when you can make up the missing sub money in cash shop sales? Why give a shit?
The tombstone situation is really, really bad. Not only, like, okay, they don't want people to gear up too fast. How do they fix that? By making you only able to get maybe a gear piece or two a week. Right? No, like one a week. So some jobs need 8 weeks of tombstone gear before they're best in slot. Some other jobs need 4. And the gear from the raids, the other part of the gear, you can get basically in 1 week. So if I think it was tanks caster? Can I look this up real fast? It was either tanks or caster let's see. Oh, we have 5 weeks. Healers had 5 weeks and the rest had 6 weeks. Black mates had 7 weeks of tombstones compared to 5 weeks for healers. And that's already bad enough, right? But then after the first 8 weeks, they don't up the cap so you can get your other jobs geared. No, they keep it like that until the ultimate drops. Which means you cannot gear a different job at all if you want to do the ultimate. Or back then, if you wanted to do the Criterion dungeons, you can't. You have to lock yourself in immediately. Like, why would I play the game if, like, the only thing I did was log in, do the raids, kept my tombstones, and log off. Purely because there was nothing else to do. Like, if I could just farm my tombstones from my other jobs, I would have done that. But there was no reason to. Why? Then, because before I was done, the next cycle would already be there.
When the shareholder has lined pockets and fat stomachs. When Square Enix takes the money this game makes and shuffles it into other, less successful projects. And in that same vein, I feel terrible on the behalf of the devs who do put in effort, only to not be rewarded for it. Only to have the profits they made siphoned into projects that have nothing to do with them. That would be demotivating for anyone. And Square Enix needs to do better by them as well. The devs of this game can be better because they have been better. This is a verifiable fact. They have made fun and engaging jobs in the past. They have made challenging content. They have added events that give cosmetics instead of shuffling them into their cash shop. They can do it again, but they won't unless the numbers speak. They won't unless Tanaka shareholder's son starts knocking on their front door or back door. I'm not sure which position Japanese game devs prefer. At least at Blizzard, I heard they like doing it with milk or something. Whatever the point is, with all of the doom posting about shop numbers and game dissatisfaction going around, I want to encourage you to do just one thing. Don't pity the devs. Don't pity Yoshi P. Don't feel bad that the game is declining, or that sub numbers are dwindling, or that most people who talk about the game only have negative things to say these days. Don't sink into paranoia that the game is going to die if you criticize it, because the irony is that if you don't, it probably fucking will. Join them, add to the voices speaking out, and then maybe, just maybe, Final Fantasy XIV will go back to being a game worth making videos about, worth playing, worth investing time into, and absolutely worth making sexy femboy alts to ERP with. Yeah, I do want this game to struggle. I want people to speak up loud and clear about the problems they have with it. I want to see the consequences of years worth of bad decisions pile up on the devs, and I want them to feel the full weight of it on their shoulders, not because I'm a WoW Andy who jumps shit, not because I'm a shit-stirrer who loves to see people suffer, but because I'm a proud f***ing 14 player, and I refuse to stand for what my game has shit the bed and fallen into. If a period of low numbers in sales is what we need to get back on track, then I welcome it with open arms. I want to see these capable game devs wipe the dirt off, roll their sleeves up, and get back to cooking some real gamer shit. In conclusion, f*** Mikodes, get money. I'm canceling your sub. This video has been a long time coming. It took me a while to write because I couldn't organize my thoughts or figure out exactly what deserved to be said and what was just rambling. I'm pretty sure I still rambled, but you'll have to forgive me for that on the account of I'm a woman and that's what I do best by nature. There are a lot of emotions and feelings intertwined with what I hope are valid points to be made about the game, so it took me a while to make this script coherent. I have no clue how many people who watch me care about 14 these days, but this is something that's been lingering in my subconscious for over a year now. Now that it's finally out of my head, I feel a lot better. And I hope it helps everyone understand where my mind is at in terms of the game right now and making content for it. There's probably stuff I'm missing or forgot to mention, but since this will probably be my longest script to date, forgive me if I forgot to mention whatever Yoshi P's aunt's uncle's dog's cousin is up to lately. Besides, that's what the comment section is for. Please.
Thanks, Lucy.